Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our RNC post-game coverage night 3, the third night in a row that we're streaming. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Subscribe if you're new before we get started, because we do have a lot to get to tonight, and we'll be probably getting some Biden stuff into the mix later on. We're probably going to go for roughly around an hour. I don't want to make it a super long stream because we've been doing night after night after night after night of content, but there has been a lot of content. JD Vance giving his official vice presidential nod acceptance speech. It's being talked about a lot. Even CNN is not really finding a way to take digs at him, spin it negatively. From what we understand, it was well received all around. Some people are saying, well, it wasn't exactly the most charismatic speech in the world, and we'll get into all of it, and it really shouldn't be. I mean, you have Donald Trump, and then you have Trump's running mate. Trump is like that charisma type of guy. He brings it all to the table. You have JD Vance, who's kind of new on the political scene, and he gave a good speech with a lot of substance, and that really rang true. It rang home for a lot of Americans, critiquing Joe Biden, talking about the economy, talking about immigration, trade, why America is so much more than an idea. Very intelligent guy, and that we know. I've watched the debates with him and Tim Ryan. He did a very, very good job. I have no qualms about his ability to take on Kamala Harris. But some people like the speech more than others. Some people, I guess, want to be a little bit too entertained. But do we have to really remember who the last VP was if you want to talk about entertainment? Mike Pence. You know, JD Vance, he's bringing this new vibe to the table. People are questioning how that's going to really be received. But the fact that you have somebody who's measured, that's kind of like a positive thing in terms of balancing out the ticket. But still somebody who's younger, has a lot of credentials, a positive life story to bring to the table, gets a decent amount of hype from a lot of other people in these other speeches during the convention as well. That's something that we need. You talk about balancing the ticket and having somebody that can connect with people in the Rust Belt, connect with people and articulate Trumpism in a suburban-friendly way, which is exactly what he did in terms of reaching some of these undecided voters. I think he does it very well. And now you have a Trump-Vance ticket, a very exciting ticket. There's a lot of excitement to be had with politics. The old guard in the GOP, it's on its last legs. It's dead. It's gone. There's a new sheriff in town. It's been in town for a while. His name is Donald Trump. But it's not just like he's in town. This party is now his party. And it is transforming. It is improving. And it's focusing on issues that relate to American people. It's talking and making sure that we can talk about immigration. How many people would have seen mass deportations now signs at any previous RNC? You wouldn't see them. You talk about the fact that it's just well organized. It's competent, but it's on message, and the message largely is important. Some people will, poke at certain elements of certain speeches over the past few nights and find things that they don't exactly like about them, or find boring, or find synonymous with the old guard, and that's one thing. But the bottom line is that this is a well put together event, and the party is changing. And I think that that's what the JD Vance VP pick really symbolizes: the death of the old guard. The new guard is in town. It's arrived. It's here to stay, and it's growing. And that's the party. The center of gravity is moving. And for the people that still think that it wasn't solid enough, well, we're still moving the ball in the right direction, which is extraordinarily important ahead of this election cycle, which is crucial. And it's still good enough to expand the voter base as well. There's a balancing act that you have to do, and that's exactly what Trump is doing. It's exactly what the RNC has done this far out. And we talk about the event as a whole. You had a lot of decent speakers last night, and tonight followed up, and they picked up exactly right where they left off. But you talk about the topics. Night one, a lot of people found boring, but a lot of people find the topic of the economy to be a boring topic, and that's exactly what it was. You had the economy, make America wealthy again, then it was make America safe again. Last night, a lot of heartfelt stories from people who have been killed because of the border, or family members have been killed because of the border crisis, and other forms of crime in very left-wing areas with these weak district attorneys. They give these murderers a slap on the wrist, but Donald Trump, they have to just invent crimes virtually out of thin air so they could give Trump a harsher sentence than some of these criminals that are murderers. It's an absolute disgrace. They'll demote their charges, they'll downgrade their charges, but Trump's charges, they'll trump them up, no pun intended, to the highest degree that they legally possibly can, just because he's Donald Trump. But beyond that point, the third night was Make America Strong Again, which definitely had a big focus on foreign policy and foreign affairs. And that's why you had the whole Afghanistan thing, all these Afghanistan families. And I knew that they would do that going into the RNC because it just showcases the weak leadership of Joe Biden. And they did it. Every single aspect of Biden's weak leadership has been hit in each of the three nights. And then Trump is going to come in tomorrow and basically tie it all together. You're going to have Donald Trump speak. I don't know exactly who else is going to be speaking. I assume if Melania is giving a speech, it's going to be tomorrow. I believe Eric Trump will be speaking tomorrow. There's a few other speakers. Isn't Tucker Carlson supposed to give a speech as well? I could be wrong about that, but that probably is going to come tomorrow. So either way, I think it's doing a good job. And as for Donald Trump, I think it's really softening Donald Trump's image. You have a lot of people telling stories. Even his own granddaughter went out there and gave a speech. You could tell she was very nervous. She probably hasn't given a speech before, at least in front of 20,000 people, but it was a very, very good speech. And you've had a lot of speeches like that over the past few nights that kind of humanize Donald Trump. They hear about Trump in the media as like this evil, shadowy figure. He's a dictator. He'll do X, Y, and Z. But then they hear the stories about Donald Trump from his own family members, his, associates in politics, whatever, friends that he has. It definitely could change some people's worldviews about Donald Trump. And that's kind of the point of the RNC. It's to make the case to the American people, even some people who are on the fence. It's to strengthen and unite the party, and it's done a very good job of doing that so far. But past that point, it's also done a very good job of reaching out to voters and leaving no stone unturned. And we'll see how many voters it adds to Trump's column. He doesn't need a lot to win at this point. He's already polling at 48% of the popular vote. Biden's down there at 44, maybe 45 on a good day. So you have that, but J.D. Vance definitely coming out and giving a speech. I thought he did a great job. He didn't feel the need to address any past controversies or past statements that he may have made about Donald Trump. He just went out there and talked about his life, talked about how he views the country and why he's going to fight for the people from Middletown, Ohio, from those places that he came from, and definitely tying it into the Rust Belt, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Those are three crucial states, and that's where J.D. Vance has the appeal to. And those are the states that Biden really needs to win. He needs to win all three of them. Trump needs to win one of them, and he knows Vance isn't going to hurt the ticket, but Vance likely, if he could help maybe pull one of those states, if you talk about the election, which I think Trump already basically is going to win them anyways, but if he helps out in just one of those states and Trump crosses the finish line, Trump hits 270 electoral votes, boom, the election's over. Nothing else matters. He's going to go back to the White House. And this election's not a done deal, but we've got 3 months and basically 3.5 months, 3 months and probably around 3 weeks or so, a little bit less than that, actually, until we hit Election Day, which is definitely going to be crucial. We need people out and voting, and this event kind of is just supposed to get more people tuning into politics and into Trump, and it's done a very good job of doing that so far, and it's not over yet. It's not over yet. But like I said, you had a very powerful statement with all the Afghanistan families out there that were grieving because of Joe Biden's incompetence. And to top it off, you also had a military veteran from World War II speak, who's 98 years old and more mentally coherent than Biden, better, spoken than Biden, more mentally with it, could make a better president than Joe Biden. I mean, that in and of itself wasn't really something that was highlighted, but it's very subtle that they did that as well, and it definitely speaks absolute volumes about it. So in terms of the speeches, I thought J.D. Vance kind of proved that he was the best man for the job in a way, because look at the other people who were considered for VP and their speeches that they gave. Doug Burgum spoke tonight. He was bland. He wasn't all that likable. And that's kind of not a good thing, because if you have somebody that's like unlikable, because you could say J.D. Vance isn't like all that likable, but he's not unlikable, and he's not going to turn people away from the ticket. Burgum, some people like him, but some people also don't. And he also, there's more concerns about him probably. He was a never-Trumper more recently than J.D. Vance was. But you talk about these other people like, Glenn Youngkin, and his speech was all right, but it wasn't like anything to write home about. I thought Marco Rubio did a pretty good job overall. But again, he's from Florida, and the residency thing was just too much of a hassle that they didn't want to, rectify that problem to put him on the ticket. Besides, a lot of people in the base still don't trust Marco either. So it's not like, he would have been far, far better received overall. I think the Vance pick is a solid pick. It's not hurting him so far. If anything, it's helping him, and it's possibly going to help him win. So when we talk about all the potential picks that he could have made, I think that he probably, it's shaping up to be a good one. And at the end of the day, it very well possibly could shape up to be the best one. And if anything, it could prove decisive depending on the end result at the end of the day in a positive way for Donald Trump. So we are going to get to the super chats. We have a lot of them already, and you guys can feel free to send them in. I'm not going to do some monologue, but I will say that it is important to note that Joe Biden has COVID. This was announced today. Reportedly, he has COVID. And this comes after he said, a few hours it was leaked, that he said that if doctors said he could not serve, then he would consider stepping down. Now he has COVID. Now, there's two different ways you could chalk it up. One, it means he's looking for a reason to stay in, because the pressure is definitely mounting. It's been off a little bit because of the assassination attempt on Trump and the RNC. The spotlight's not so fixated on Biden, but you still have a lot of people behind the scenes. They're coming out and they're saying, well, you know what, we need Biden to step down. Even apparently Adam Schiff is saying this. Hakeem Jeffries reportedly said something. Chuck Schumer floated the idea to Biden. At a minimum, it's kind of confirmed that he brought up what other Senate colleagues may be saying. Biden reportedly saying and asking other people in his inner circle if Kamala Harris could defeat Donald Trump. They're probably going to tell him no regardless. So when you talk about this, and also he's still trying to raise money. He had his bizarre tweet today saying, I'm sick, and then he put the fundraising link in the reply, the top reply down below. So he clearly has an intention of staying in the race himself, more so than dropping out, but he's kind of, the cracks in the foundation might be there. But you can make the case that they're just, saying he has COVID so he can go back to the basement and they could get off his back, and then he comes back and he's basically going to be the nominee, because they're trying to move up the nomination process and using Ohio as an excuse, but Ohio fixed the law. You have Nate Silver going at it with the chairman of the DNC, and Nate Silver is just providing the facts, and the guy just is using some bizarre mental gymnastics to dance around those facts, and it's not really working. So either way, you gotta mess within the Democrat Party. It's been growing, and there's no signs of it being cleaned up as of right now, despite it being like honestly, it's been over, I think, 3 weeks since the debate. I think tomorrow will be 3 weeks actually since the debate. But the Republican Party, they're more united than ever. CNN can't spin it otherwise. MSNBC can't spin it as otherwise. Obviously, Fox isn't going to spin it as otherwise. So that's a very good thing for Trump, a very good thing for Vance, a very good thing for the RNC. So the way you look at it, it's a good thing. We're going to get to Super Chats. We'll start off with Johnny Heartdog as usual for $20, saying, I was one of those doomers who believed God was done with America, but after the supernatural divine event, I think God has plans for Trump. That's the only way we can explain it. Also, I did not think Nikki's speech was bad. I thought what she said was spot on and exactly what needed to be said to win over those undecided voters. I still don't like her, though. I will be listening to the other speeches tonight. Finally, I know this is going to be discussed, but I'm sure you heard Biden has COVID. I'm not buying it. So, in terms of everything you said, I agree that it shows that there probably is some divine intervention. When they play the clip and they showcase like the models of like the head turning at the right time, that's something that was just a matter of inches, not even an inch, not even a second. Donald Trump would have been gone. He would have been dead, but he didn't, and he got shot. And then he threw his hand up in the air and said, fight, fight, fight. And I thought all the speakers kind of brought that in very well. Vance did it. Don Jr. did it very well. So overall, when we look at this, it's like, yeah, I think that it was a very, very divine interventionist type of moment. And as for Haley's speech, I think that it was a net positive that she spoke. I can't say I like her or that I even, agreed with her angle, but I understand the purpose of her there giving that angle. If it helps sway 1% of her own voter base, that's 43,000 votes to Donald Trump. And if those were Biden people, then that would be 86,000 votes to Donald Trump, which, I mean, every vote counts. These margins could be very close in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona. This election is far from over. Far from over. I think we're going to win it. I think we're the heavy favorites, but it's still far from over. We don't know what could possibly happen. Gerald Armstrong says, I'm okay with Vance. I was concerned at the beginning of his speech, but he got better as the speech wore on. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really understand where the criticism of the speech came from. I thought he did a very decent job overall. I mean, he's not the most charismatic guy in the world. We know this. I don't want Trump to have the most charismatic guy in the world on the ticket because Trump is supposed to be the main event, the main attraction. He has somebody that is articulate, somebody that can possibly, help spread his message. You get that in somebody with Vance, who also has a very impressive backstory, very different backstory than Donald Trump for sure, but definitely somebody that could appeal to middle America, the Rust Belt, you name it. But we'll do the grade Vance's speech poll. I probably would give it around a B. But I understand why people would give it an A. I thought the substance was an A. I thought the delivery / charisma was more like a C. But overall, I think that it was a decent speech. And keep in mind, he'll get better. He's kind of new to this. He'll hit the campaign trail. He's gonna do his thing, and he'll go from there. And definitely, the more you get into your element, the better you get. It's funny to see all the people that are critiquing his speech are the same people that wanted Ron DeSantis over Trump, and they have the audacity to talk about charisma. Vance, the people in the real world who were skeptical of Vance are probably more of like these independent people that hear, oh, he's super far right, he's crazier than Trump, or whatever they want to say about him, and then they hear the speech, and it's like he's measured. He's not the most charismatic, but he's not I wouldn't say he's uncharismatic either. Like Mike Pence is like a brick wall. Vance is somebody that's not a career politician either. But just him being subdued and him trying to just come off as genuine, I think, is a massive positive. And when you look at the results in the poll, 88% of respondents are saying an A or a B. A is about to surpass B even. So we'll say B+. That's a good thing. That's a win. Overall, that's a win. So either way, Mike Oxard says, I gave all my Super Chat money to Real American, and I'm now in crippling debt, but I must say Vance is now A tier. I moved him up from B tier. So apparently it seems like a lot of people saw the speech and then they got kind of a more positive vibe. But you talk about loyalty. I think that the speech, if people were concerned about loyalty, if they watched the speech, I think that their concerns were probably put to rest a little bit. And I think that that's where there may have been some concerns within the base. And that's like the main takeaway. Johnny Heartdog again says, I got to run. I just wanted to say hi and bye. I'll probably chat again tomorrow. Good night. I'm going to watch the convention, then go to bed early. Well, you'll enjoy it. Gerald Armstrong says, is Little Vivek named after Big Vivek? I have no idea. That's a good question. I haven't heard about that, or at least his namesake. But they were close in college, so keep that in mind. Now, A has surpassed B. A has surpassed B, 47-42. C is at 8%. D or F is at 3%. Nighthawk 2174 says, can we just take a moment to reflect on the fact that the 98-year-old veteran spoke better and looks better than Biden? God, what a total giga Chad. Yeah, I know. I covered that, and it's 100% accurate. You know, this guy's 98. Joe Biden is 82, and the man who's 16 years older than him doing a very, very good job on that stage. He didn't have any gaffes. Nathaniel Hyde says the Gold Star family segment and the WW2 vet were the best parts outside of Vance's speech to me. It is sad to me that a 98-year-old vet could speak better than our resident in chief, and that's also true. Yeah, the Gold Star families, Biden is really just getting flamed, especially because on the debate stage, he said no American lives were lost abroad. It's like, really? That's one of your biggest scandals since you took power. Seriously. Saga says, I just can't stop thinking about JD's speech on election eve, and Traverse City, Green Bay, and Grand Rapids will be unlike anything ever seen to them. Well, he speaks to that part of America very well. It's a double-down selection, but it's a needed double-down selection because one could say it could, help accelerate the realignment in action. Ice Cream Junkie for 10 says, things are looking good for us at the moment, but they also did in the 2022 midterms. Do you worry Republicans will get complacent and let the momentum die? Well, I think that in terms of politics, there's a lot that can change in a little bit of time. Do I think that this is just like 2022? No, I don't believe it's just like 2022 because Trump wasn't really all that there in 22 and Biden was not on the ballot. Now it's Trump versus Biden. You have the Trump energy. I think it's more like Super Tuesday than 2022 in that regard. But I do agree with the fact that it's far from over, and now is definitely not the time to take the foot off of the gas pedal. Because that's the worst thing that we can do. Gerald Armstrong says, Kimberly Guilfoyle with the most annoying speech for a second straight RNC. Well, she didn't scream this time. So, that I guess is an improvement. Either way, I was worried that she was going to do that and do the best is yet to come thing again, because I've seen her appear at other events and kind of give the same exact speech she gave at the last RNC. This one was not really that meme-worthy, so, it's not really that big of a deal. But Donald Trump, you could see Trump during the speech. He was not, they would pan to him, and he wasn't all that enthused, to put it lightly. But let's see. BB says Gold Star families excoriating Biden was huge. Yeah, definitely. Those clips could be used in ads too, I'm sure. Mitchell Ryan says, I'm officially registered for Trump 47 as an outbound caller to low propensity voters. I'm ready to do my part. There you go. That's +1 on the team. In the field, doing the work that needs to be done. We need people out there volunteering, and that's the best revenge that we possibly could get for what they've thrown our way and what they've thrown his way, because it all leads to victory. Dustin Enoch says Vance is a solid pick to lock in the Rust Belt / Midwest. I agree. The Voices says, did you see the new Emerson national and state polls? I have not. Their last poll, I'm pretty sure. Okay, we got Trump +4 as the national top line. We have Trump +6 in the 5-way. We have Trump up by 7 in Arizona, 6 in Georgia, 3 in Michigan, 5 in Nevada, 7 in North Carolina, 5 in Pennsylvania, and 5 in Wisconsin. Seems like most of those leads expand in the 5-way races, where he's even up by 10 points in Arizona, more than Mitt Romney and John McCain won Arizona by the way. So we'll end the poll right here. Emperor Toxitine says, Vance mentioned the Great Lakes states a lot. I love that as a Michigander. I'm hearing the same from my fellow 30-year-old friends. Yeah, he does have the millennial appeal as well, which is also good because that is a growing, it's a voting bloc that's there, and it is moving to the right to an extent because people, when they get older, they move right. And the fact he was a former Never Trumper does possibly have some appeal to those kinds of voters as well, because a lot of millennials were too, but they grow up and they pay taxes and then they change their worldview. James for 10 says, Democrats don't want Biden to drop out because he's in mental decline. They want him to resign because he's losing. They don't care about America, only retaining power. I agree, absolutely. If he had a replacement level debate performance or even a narrow loss to Donald Trump where, Democrats would claim, well, he actually won the debate. And obviously if that happened, it would have been a little bit of a different story. And they would keep gaslighting, but they can't do it. They, let the dog off the leash for a while and basically just got lost. And we saw that in full time. Also, with Mitch McConnell's time as majority leader coming to an end, if you had to say one good thing about him or one good thing he did during his time as majority leader, what would it be? Well, I thought that during the Obama and the Trump years, he at least would hold the line on certain things. He prevented Merrick Garland from becoming a Supreme Court justice, and he made sure that we had a Supreme Court justice on that court to replace Ginsburg to get the 6-3 court. Now, you can talk about the Supreme Court at times being a letdown, but given what they've done over the past couple years, they've done a lot of positive things as well that we wouldn't have gotten if we had a different makeup on the court. So, I'm not going to say that he's completely without any successes despite his failures. I'd like to have somebody that could do that, but also do a hell of a lot more and not be the most unpopular politician in the country. Let's see. Tommy Robinson says JD's speech was great, but too much pausing. Well, part of that is also the audience, I feel like, wouldn't just let him finish. They were clapping a lot, which, is kind of a positive thing in a way. We'll see. Michigan Nationalist says Vance is a woke soy boy for going vegan because... Wait, Vance is vegan? Hold on. Is he actually? I didn't hear that. If that's true, that's disappointing. That's disappointing. Is that actually real? Or... We'll see. I'm sure his wife probably is. It's a common thing for a lot of Indians to be, but is he actually vegan? That's disappointing. That's disappointing. Oh, well, whatever. Pendoc says Vance has the charisma of a toilet paper. I don't know what that means. Again, I wouldn't say that he has the weakest charisma. There's a difference between having charisma, not having charisma, or being just too bland where it's awkward and painfully awkward. Like, that's not Vance. I think Vance is somewhere in the middle, for sure. Somewhere in the middle of those two. So he's not a vegan. He adopted his wife's diet. So, okay. That doesn't... No, actually, wait a minute. Because he's tweeted about barbecues and going to Cincinnati barbecues and betting with Josh Hawley on the Super Bowl. He's not a vegan. He's not a vegetarian in full. I'm sure he's probably has his spurts where he does that, or he'll eat his wife's meals or whatever, but I don't think he's a full-on vegan or vegetarian, to be honest. So I don't think that that's true. From what I remember, it should be untrue. So he probably does eat a lot of the veggies. He probably eats more of that diet because it's what his wife feeds him, but I think that's the wrong takeaway. His wife probably is, it is what it is. You're not electing his wife to be vice president. She gave a good speech. She seems like a decent person. That was her first major moment in the spotlight too. So he supports it, but he eats meat. So let's get that Right. Let's make sure we correct the record, because that's slander. People say a lot of things about Vance, but that's slander. We don't tolerate slander about any member of the Trump ticket. Dustin Enoch says, should they focus on the Afghanistan withdrawal more? I think they did about the right amount. I mean, they hammered it home. LinRx52 says, did you see Biden going up the short stairs tonight? It looked like he needed to be carried, moving twice as slow as usual. Do you think they would give him something to knock him off? I don't know what exactly. I didn't see that clip, but I heard it was bad. But my Twitter timeline was just talking about the RNC. The Iranian Putin says, Guilfoyle screaming, the best is yet to come. Seahawks Brendan Nelson says, can you speak a bit about who might replace Mitch as the majority leader in 2025? It depends who runs. I don't really even know who's going to run. The Iranian Putin gifted 5 memberships. Eric from Wisconsin says, Vance isn't vegan. He learned to cook vegetarian dishes for his wife. Do better and vote Hovdi. LinRx52 says, Vance did not say he's vegan. He said he learned to cook it for his wife. Yeah, we've corrected the record. No Vance slander, no Vance derangement syndrome. We've seen quite a bit of it over the past few days, but it's mainly an online phenomenon. I don't think anybody in the real world cares. Vance is very positively received so far by voters that actually matter and dictate the election, not armchair pundits on social media that are just looking to stir up some drama or stir up some controversy. So there you go. On Point Politics has just hit 22K subscribers. I'm very excited about Trump and Vance. New national poll coming from me and SoCal. Trump seems to be up big based on my modeling. Well, he's doing very well in the polls. I mean, he's up by 4 in Emerson. The previous Emerson poll had him up by 3. So the bump that he got was a 1-point bump since the incident, if that stands true. Mike Oxard says if Vance was vegan, he wouldn't look that healthy. That's also probably true. So, yeah, and it seems like the wife is vegetarian, not vegan. So there you go. But either way, we've seen him eat meat before. We've seen him talk about barbecue and having his bet with Hawley about who would win the Super Bowl when it was Cincinnati and I think it was Kansas City, or not? Yeah, Kansas City. I think it was the AFC Championship game. I think, not the Super Bowl. Okay. So, we will get to any more super chats you guys have. We've been going for 32 minutes. We'll look in regular chat. It could be a easier stream, but I want to hear what people have to say about the night. Who is their favorite speech, favorite speaker? For some people, it might have been Vance. For some people, it was probably the Gold Star families. I heard every speech of the night. I tended to like most of them. I thought the Vance speech was good. I thought it was solid. And that's all we needed. We needed solid. A hell of a lot better than the Mike Pence speeches from 2016 and 2020. And we're going to get a very, very good speech from Donald John America tomorrow night. Temporal Forces for $10 says, evening, Red Eagle. I'm a longtime subscriber from Canada and always wanted to ask your opinion of us here up north. I hope you know a lot of us aren't drones for Trudeau and await Trump's return. Well, Canada's obviously, it's a love-hate relationship. It's kind of a friendly rivalry. They're like the little brother, basically. And that's kind of the way it is. Grew up probably around, 30 minutes away from the Canadian border with Windsor, Ontario. I mean, I've been there a few times. I've been to Canada a few times. It's they're our ally. They really are. Number one trade partner. They fought alongside us in all these conflicts the past 100 years for the most part. And it's important we have a good relationship with them. And it's sad to see their country go down the tubes. And it's sad to see their country embrace mass migration to their own detriment. That's a major problem, and definitely we need to make sure that our country doesn't become that way, and hopefully they get things under control up there so they can have their country that they grew up in, basically, because they're not having that right now with Trudeau and his weak leadership. Lovely 6 says, great moment Vance with his mother and the frat boys. M says Vance should convert his wife to Catholicism. There's no love without Jesus, and having both a Catholic/Hindu wedding is cringeworthy. Well, listen, I'm sure he probably has tried, and maybe he will. It's a long process for some people, and obviously he's embraced his faith, and it's very possible that his wife will one day as well. So we'll see how that happens. Definitely got to keep on praying for that to happen, and then maybe one day it will. BB says RNC 24 is exponentially better than 2020, maybe 16. Yeah, I agree. Definitely better than 2020. More emotionally moving than 2016, given the circumstances, for sure. I felt as if the first night probably not as good as 2016, but the first night's usually the weakest one. The last 2 nights have been solid, but tomorrow, that's the night that we need to make sure is the best of all, because it's going to culminate in the Trump speech. And how good does he look with the bandage? I mean, it's a battle scar. It just fits him well. It fits him well. I hope he keeps on wearing it. I really do. Even if he doesn't need it, he should still keep on wearing it. It's just it's symbolic. It's iconic. It's a battle scar. He survived. He was this close. Literally this close from sudden death. Seahawks Brendan Nelson says, which is better, RFK staying on the ballot to take votes from Biden, or RFK dropping out and endorsing Trump? I don't know. I think him and Trump had a conversation about it, and he's not dropping out of the race, despite him probably, improving in terms of his potential job prospects if he were to. So I think that overall, him staying on the ballot doesn't hurt us, and him dropping out and endorsing Trump probably doesn't hurt us either. So what can I say? Mike Oxard says, World War II vet had my favorite speech, super wholesome. Yeah, I liked a lot of the speech. We had a good slate tonight. We had a good slate last night, and hopefully we have a really good slate tomorrow. The day 4 speakers. There's so many that we don't exactly know quite yet, but Trump is going to have a long speech, a lot longer than Vance's speech, a lot longer than a lot of the speeches that we've heard tonight. So we'll have to see. Let's look in chat. Tommy Robinson says Trump should reveal his scar during his speech. Well, I don't know. If it's too graphic, that might not be the right move, but we'll have to see. His ear is damaged. I mean, it's not like it's for show. It's not like he doesn't need it. So let's see. Looking in chat. Do you think that figures like Gavin Newsom and Josh Shapiro would shift towards more old right positions like free trade, fiscal spending, and foreign policy to appeal to some Sunbelt suburbs? Well, those are their positions already. Free trade, I don't really think helps them a lot in those places. Spending, I don't think is really that big of an issue overall to a lot of median voters. And foreign policy, I mean, maybe you could say that the Midwest is more, or it's less hawkish than the Sun Belt, but they've basically had those positions anyways. They've been the hawkish party and the more hawkish party ever since Trump won that nomination. So, yeah. Other than that, I think we're out of super chats right now. We have, CNN today. It wasn't CNN, it was MSNBC. They put up a list of Republicans, prominent Republicans not attending the RNC, and it's George Bush, Mitt Romney, they had Mike Pence, they had Paul Ryan, and it's like all these people, like a lot of them never attended any of the RNCs, but it's like it's kind of a good thing that these clowns are not the face of the Republican Party anymore. I think it's a very good thing. So we'll see. How much does Vance help Moreno? Probably maybe a point or two. The home state bump, it can be overrated. Trump is going to win Ohio by a lot anyways, but it definitely helps, and that might have been one of the underlying reasons behind the selection. Josh Light says, Rep, thoughts on Nate Silver's new model favoring Biden? He's grasping at straws, or is there something to it? Well, first of all, Nate Silver has his own model. Nate Silver has cut ties with 538 for about a year. That's the G. Elliott Morris model. And that model is really grasping for straws. It's basically been 50-50 ever since it came out because they have to appease their viewer base. They have to appease those people. Joshua Zuxel says, will Biden be the nominee? I think that there's a chance that he does drop out, but honestly, my gut still says he will be because it's just a hassle. It's a headache for them to get rid of him at this point, and they know it. Michigan Nationalist says, can we please at least get LaRose and not Dolan? Well, the downside of getting LaRose is it's going to be harder to primary him out with somebody better, whereas Dolan, I'm not sure would even win a primary if he gets appointed. He's a two-time loser, so I'm not entirely sure how that would shake out. Vance brought up term limits. I've heard that for 20 years. What are your thoughts? Well, Trump brought it up in 2016, and he never did anything about it. So if he's got somebody by his side that shares his agenda, it's possible that there could be more of a push for it. It still would require a constitutional amendment for that to happen. But either way, I have mixed feelings on them because while it's true that you would see a lot less, or a lot more turnover. You wouldn't have Nancy Pelosi's, you wouldn't have Mitch McConnell's in government for 30, 40 years. You would basically just have a revolving door of them because big money still controls politics. Now, if you get big money out of politics, then you would probably see more of these grassroots people that represent the interests of the base in more positions of power, more so than anything else. Seahawks Brendan Nelson says 538 model bakes in a massive boost for Biden because the economic numbers are good, which is stupidity because most voters think the economy sucks. I agree. Trump, by the way, they say Biden created 15 million jobs. By that logic, Trump created 13 million jobs in his last 7 months in office. They wouldn't be running with that because that just would not entirely be an accurate way of describing it. It's just COVID recovery. So Joshua Zuxel says, how many Senate seats do you think we'll win? I think we'll be somewhere in the mid-50s, and I will do that. I will update the prediction at the beginning of August. I will say that. So maybe 53 to 55, somewhere in that range probably. So let's see. We're 43 minutes in. Again, guys, make sure you like the stream. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. But anyways, we have a lot of people in chat. Let's see, 56 is realistic. It's possible. Dustin Enoch for 2 says age limits are better than term limits. I kind of disagree to an extent. I know what you mean. But it's possible. Like we see Biden, he's like 82. This World War II vet was 98, would be far more cognitively with it than Biden. It's not just about the age. The age is one thing, but the age is kind of a distraction. It's cognitive. I'd rather have people just pass a basic, cognitive test or like an IQ test or something, have a certain level where they have to get above in order to serve in government so you don't have people who are just completely incompetent. So if we did that and also got big money out of politics, I think you would have people that are smart and competent, but also well-intentioned and we know what that would lead to. Tommy Robinson says updated Senate tier list. Well, we'll do that after the election when we get an updated Senate. So, end of discussion. When you hit Social Security age, you can no longer seek re-election. So basically, you're saying that if they're serving in government when they're younger, then they would have to get out by a certain age limit. But why not just have a term limit at that point? Because there's plenty of people who are probably in their 70s that have a lot to contribute that are still mentally with it, just like Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump is only 3 years younger than Biden, but at the end of the day, it's like night and day, clearly. Exactly, if you have term limits, age limits won't be needed. But I'm not even necessarily sure that I'm for term limits, just because you'd have a revolving door of these industry plants instead of, the good people. Like if you have somebody like Paul Gosar, who's been there for over a decade, very solid congressman, one of the best congressmen, they wouldn't, they'd be out of the door in 6 years if you had term limits, and then they wouldn't be able to contribute. So I think it's deeper than that. If people want to be career politicians, but they're actually good career politicians, that's a good thing, I think. That'd be a net positive because they'd be doing a good job. So let's see. Mental and health fitness tests. Yeah, exactly. Fitness tests. How much can you bench? Yeah, that'd be an intriguing addition to the mix. But definitely, you have some people who are like in their 70s and they're not that physically fit. But let's see. Founding fathers were all against being career politicians. Well, a lot of them became them. So, I mean, do what you will with that information. Presidential deadlift competition. That would be something. But I understand both arguments in terms of term limits. I'm just saying you can make a case, and a well-intentioned case against term limits, and I kind of see a very well-intentioned case against them. Let's see. Miranda Dijkstra Mills says, any way we can get rid of my rep Scholten / Slotkin. Well, Slotkin's retiring. Slotkin is running for Senate. The way to get rid of her is to vote for Mike Rogers in November. As for Scholten, I think that Scholten probably is going to hold on because that district is like Biden +9. But you never know with this election because it's definitely a game changer for sure. But I still think that with trends, J.D. Scholten is going to hold on. Let's see. It's about cognition, not age. True. The election stream will be beautiful, I hope. We'll be streaming for probably around 10 hours that night. We're not going to go to bed. We're not going to go to sleep. That's going to be a stream. We're probably going to hit our record number, which would be north of 30,000 live concurrent viewers. It's probably going to be the biggest event that will happen on this channel, probably until maybe the 2028 election, but who knows what's going to happen by then. But it's definitely going to be a very, very fun ride. We still have a long way to go. We still have over 110 days. Just to clarify my question about Newsom and Shapiro, what I mean by old right, I mean the Wall Street Journal neocons. Well, I mean, they are adopting in many cases those positions. I know exactly what you mean. If Trump ran against Obama in 2012, do you think he could have won or at least done better than Rhino Romney? He would have done better just because he had more appeal. Would he have beaten Obama? I think it depends on if Trump's attacks would have landed, if they would have lowered Obama's approval rating. It's possible. Mike Oxard says, I like how Vance mentioned that Biden was in office longer than he's been alive. Yeah, I didn't even catch that, but that's a nice touch. Miranda Dijkstra Mills says, Scholten is my rep. It's pronounced Dijkstra. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. Stephen Kanizik says, at this point, I think the reason Michelle Obama won't try and run in 24 is because she knows even she'll lose to Trump, adding the Obama name to the long list of dynasties Trump ended. Well, I just think there's too many skeletons in her closet that I don't think she wants unearthed, because she's very popular in the public right now, at least among like independents, which is why people are worried, oh, if she runs, it's over. But she's not being attacked. All first ladies have some varying degree of high popularity. She's probably among the least popular, come to think about it, because of, the polarization. But still, I mean, she's not this candidate that we're afraid of, because if she was this candidate that we should be afraid of, then she would have ran in 2020, because Democrats were in disarray back then too, but they just sucked it up with Biden. But they tried to run other people to see and test them out, like Buttigieg, how he would be perceived, how Tom Steyer, maybe you could make the case for, but Michael Bloomberg for sure. Michael Bloomberg, that guy was a character. He spent all this money. He barely won American Samoa. It's funny because Biden lost American Samoa this election cycle. He fell short in the primary. The one primary he lost, Jason Palmer, nobody's ever heard of him, but now he's saying Biden should drop out too even. Seahawks Brendan Nelson with a member chat saying, house prediction video when? We'll do one in August sometime. We'll do one in August. So when is the Red Eagle Politics National Convention? I don't know. I mean, this is kind of it, in a way. We're doing it for 4 days. We're just recapping another convention. I don't have a convention yet. Maybe one day we'll do something, but the brand would have to expand quite a bit. We're here at 185,000. Who knows where it could possibly go, but, we'll see a lot of growth in the next 4 months, I'm sure. We'll see. Trump Vance 2024. So true. Vance is genuine. Vivek is fake. Well, a lot of people prefer Vivek, but still, I will say about that, Vivek does have a lot of charisma, but I think that that's kind of counterproductive if you're talking about a vice president, because if you have a VP that steals the spotlight, that's not something Trump really wants. And I'll say that. So, will I cover the DNC? I will cover the DNC. We'll do the same thing. We'll stream after it every night. It's going to be abortion fest. Abortion, abortion, abortion. That's the entire convention. They have nothing. But, if they replace Biden, who knows? It could get a lot of more press. So it could be very chaotic, as somebody put it. Biden's speech is probably not going to be disastrous because he'll be able to read off the teleprompter. But then again, it's going to be like way, way past his bedtime. Way past his bedtime, because the bedtime's at 4 p.m. and it's Central Time, so he jet lag. That's also a problem. He can't even fly in a plane a week before the debate without it hurting. John Waffle H2 Pieces, do you think we're in for a Republican dynasty with the Democrats floundering? No, I don't believe so. I think the pendulum does shift a lot. I do think that if Donald Trump keeps going at the rate he's going and Biden's the nominee and keeps deteriorating, they could suffer a generational loss by today's standards. I think if they lose too many Senate seats, they'll probably never get the Senate back again, which is horrific for them. Republicans can get rid of the filibuster and then just do whatever the hell they want with Donald Trump. The House, the House is... The maps are favorable for the Democrats in some states. I don't think they're going to lose a ridiculous amount of seats. They probably take it back in 2026 anyways, but even then, they're not going to have a ridiculous majority. But the presidency it's year to year. It's cycle to cycle for sure. That's 100% true. But Trump definitely, this RNC, it is expanding. He's expanding the map as well. So... let's see. I think that we're going to wrap it up soon. I'd like to hit the hour mark. We're about 54 minutes in. I'd like to hit the hour mark, but we'll look in chat. If you guys want to send in super chats, those get priority. Those are going to be read for sure. I bet GOP wins the White House and 52 Senate seats, but probably a split House. Well, you are dooming. You are dooming. They would have to really drop the ball everywhere down ballot. That would be a lot of ticket splitting. And I don't know if I could see that level of ticket splitting with this level of polarization. Usually if you're voting Trump, you just vote Republican down ballot. Not always. There will be some races with ticket splitting, but not a lot of them. M says, how do we fortify the House? Well, repeal certain aspects of the Voting Rights Act that are unconstitutional that says, well, you need certain districts for certain ethnicities. But it doesn't apply to where whites are a minority for some reason, only when other groups are minorities. It's affirmative action. It's DEI, one of the original forms of DEI. You have DEI districts in the South, and even the Supreme Court, we praise them for some things, but recently they've decided to give out more of them for free. So you think they won't drop the ball? Well, it's not up to them with Trump on the ticket. 2022 wasn't on Trump. This is a little bit different because Trump's on the ballot. So we'll see. I look forward to tomorrow's speech, and hopefully it's going to be, I don't even remember 2020's very much. His 2016 speech was iconic. I don't know if this is going to have that same level of energy, but it's definitely a lot more emotional and a lot more crucial. And we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it's going to be a phenomenal speech. This is a prepared speech. It's largely, yes, on teleprompter, but not necessarily a bad thing. Somebody asked me if there will be Trump Gallego voters. There will be some Trump Gallego voters, mainly Latinos, but I do think there will be less of them as we get closer to the election, probably. Joshua's Excel says, I'm worried the GOP will be pro-choice based on everything happening, especially with Eric's statement. I don't know if I could support them in 2028. Well, Donald Trump has not changed his position on the abortion issue, which is what people need to understand. If people are upset with him not being sufficiently pro-life or whatever, if he was going to call for a national ban, he would lose probably a decent portion of independents based off of that fact. He's playing his cards right in that department. He's saying state issue, maybe some late-term restrictions or whatnot. But either way, I think that overall the GOP just needs to message better on abortion. There's plenty of things they need to do. I don't believe they're becoming pro-abortion or pro-choice or pro-anything. I think that that's a little bit of a misconception. Michigan Nationalist says 57 seats. Do not underrate the shy McCormick voter. Well, we'll see. I liked all the speeches that the Senate nominees gave. McCormick, his voice is a little, he looks like a guy, he's like 4 kids in a trench coat. Sounds like it too. But either way, I hope he does win just because we need as much support as we can get. Ending Bob Casey would be huge, and Trump would be the one to credit with that victory too. So it's possible you could even draw a path out to 60. It's just not that likely. I'm just saying there's so many of them, and it's so much more tied to the top of the ticket than a lot of people give it credit for, which is why I'm not dooming in terms of the Senate races. Thoughts on the New Jersey Senate race? That's going to be interesting. Depends on how much Menendez gets. I mean, he's indicted, but you never know. He could pull some people that are just used to voting for him. He was already seen as corrupt his entire career. I don't know why that would stop now, but they do have a different nominee who's more popular. So I don't think he's going to get a big share of the vote, but it could eat into that vote share if New Jersey's close. You never know. Menendez is not running at this point, so he's dropping the independent bid now, huh? I mean, still, you might talk about the fact that just because he had a scandal and is exiting, usually that does boost the other party. But like I said, it would have to be close at the presidential level for that to flip. The Omega Rangers said the YouTube comment sections regarding Biden and the coup are tone deaf. 50% say it's a mass disabling event. 30% says we're in a surge. 20% virtue signaling. Like, guys, this is another distraction from the DNC. I think it is a distraction. But the question is, what is the motive behind it? Because just as much as you could say, well, they're trying to give a medical excuse to get Biden out of there, Biden probably survives COVID. maybe the next debate, if they stick with them, or they'll say we have to cancel the DNC speech on the next debate because Biden has long COVID. That's the other thing. I don't know what the hell people are doing to themselves when they say long COVID. It's like you have a community of people who want to make themselves sick for some reason and think that they have COVID permanently. It's a bizarre group of people. But now people are saying the reason why Biden isn't speaking well is it's not like a cognitive issue. It's long COVID. It's like, what are these people on? The same people that think Trump staged 713, by the way. John Waffle, H2 Pieces, do you think Cheney will be speaking at the DNC? I don't think so, but they probably get Adam Kinzinger for sure, which is another clown that they can have that we don't want. I'm sure they'll do that. But the Republicans for Biden thing, there's a lot less of them. You had people like John Kasich that endorsed Biden last time, won't do it this time around. They were, in many cases, promised that, there's going to be all these Republicans in the administration, like these neocons, and they just never got places. And it just was an administration that just catered more to the far left than not. And then these people just don't want anything to do with it. They don't like Trump, but they don't want anything to do with this either. So let's see. Trump's ceiling is 389. I agree. It's unlikely to happen, but we'll see. But anyways, I think we're gonna wrap it up. We hit the hour mark, so make sure you guys like the stream before you go. We have another super chat though from DePweb saying, if Trump wins in a landslide, how conservative do you think American voters will be in 2028, and how long will America trend right? Well, it depends on the circumstances. If the economy recovers and Trump, utilizes his power well, and it's very possible you could talk about a changing turn of the tides and a pendulum shift, and 2028 we could go into being the favorites if he's popular. We'll see. It's an important 4 years for sure, especially about where the baton would get passed. If Trump wins, which he is the overwhelming favorite to do so as it stands today. Jolt Game says Kamala word salad during DNC. Something about being unburdened where it hasn't been or whatever. Yeah, I'm sure. We'll see. But I appreciate all the super chats. We will be ending the show, though. Make sure you guys like the stream. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new, or if you haven't subscribed yet, let's get to 186K. Make sure you guys hit the bell. Make sure you guys follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.